number of prototype testing. That is, we can reduce the number of experimental testing by using finite element analysis. So that in the olden days, before the use of finite element analysis, they have to do about more than 100 or 150 experimental tests, and each test was costing about minimum 5 to 10 lakh rupees. So lot of cost was incurred in experimental testing. So after the invention of these computers, when the finite element analysis softwares came and when they became popular, everyone in the industry started using this finite element analysis software to do the computer simulations. And after the design is 100% okay in computer simulation, and then in by checking the stresses and induced in the body by using computer softwares, they can able to redesign or modify or rectify the problems in the design, and they will again do the analysis and optimization phase. And once it is 100% okay in computer optimization and simulation, then they will send it for experimental testing. So due to that, what happened? Lot of experimental testing cost was saved. That is why FEM gained popularity. That is why, being a mechanical engineer, you should learn this finite element analysis. Otherwise, what happens in an industry? In almost all 99% of the industries are using finite element analysis. It may be any industry. It may be automotive industry, it may be boiler manufacturing industry, or it may be this industries manufacturing heat exchangers, or in wind turbines, or in composite material analysis, or even for machine tools also this finite element analysis is used. So today in this class we'll be dealing with steps involved in finite element analysis. What are the steps in finite element analysis of a structure? So there are basically six basic steps in finite element analysis of a structure. It is also called as basic procedure of FEM. In the examination, the question may be like this. They may ask for enumerate the or describe the steps involved in finite element analysis of a structure, or they may even ask that describe the basic procedure of finite element method. For both the questions, you have to write the same answer. That is what we will be discussing now. Okay. So in steps, there are about 6 basic steps. What are those steps? Let us see. The solution of general structural problem which FEM follows for or orderly step-by-step procedure are given by. First one is discretization of given continuum. The first step in finite element analysis is discretization of the given continuum. Discretization means what? Dividing or splitting. I told now in finite element method what happens? A complete body, a complex problem is divided into simpler small parts. Okay, that process of dividing is called as discretization. Discretization of the given continuum. Continuum means what? The problem domain. For example, suppose you are doing a structural analysis of a beam. The beam itself is our continuum now. Or suppose you want to do the analysis, finite element analysis of a piston. Piston is the continuum. Or suppose you want to do the computational fluid dynamic analysis in a room, means how the air is flowing in the room, what is the temperature distribution in the room, all those things, then our room will become the continuum. Is it clear now? Continuum means what? It is the area or region or volume under study. Continuum means area or region or volume or a component under study is called as a continuum. So in the first step, what we do, we will divide the body or the continuum into finite number of elements, means countable number of elements. Suppose a beam is there, we will divide it into 10 elements. Okay. Then it is called as discretization of the given continuum. So here you can read that one. The first step in FEM is to divide the given structure or continuum into finite number of subdivisions. Okay, means we will divide it into parts. Those each parts are called as each elements. Okay, so that is why the name finite element method. Finite means countable number of elements. Okay, the number of elements, type, size, and arrangements are to be described in this step. So In this step, what you do, how many number of elements you want to divide. Suppose one continuum is there, you want to divide it into 100 number of elements. So that will be decided in this step, and what type of element you want to use. For example, suppose it is a single beam element, we can go for line type of elements, or else suppose it is a plate. Plate is a 2D element, no? If it is a large plate, a steel plate, then it is a two-dimensional element, because thickness of the plate is very much negligible compared to length and breadth of the plate. Due to that, it can be treated as a two-dimensional body. And for two-dimensional body, what are the elements that can be used? What are the geometries? That is elements that can be used are either triangular element or quadrilateral element, no? So triangle is a two-dimensional element, and quadrilateral means what? It is a just similar to a rectangular element. Means quadrilateral element means it is having 4 sides and 4 vertices. Okay, the sides may be either equal or may be not equal, or they may or may not be at right angles. Whereas in rectangle, what happens? Opposite sides are equal, and the angle between the sides is exactly right angle, that is 90 degree. Whereas in quadrilateral, it is a 4-sided element, but the sides may or may not be equal, and the angles may or may not be 90 degree. Okay, then it is called as a quadrilateral. So suppose this means what type of element I want to use, that also will be defined in this step. And what is the size of the element, means what size of the element we want to take. I told, no, if the size of the elements is reduced, then more number of elements are needed, no? For example, suppose a 100 by 100 area is there. Okay, if a 100 mm square area is there, and if I divide it into small elements of 10 mm squares, then how many elements I need? 10 times 100, that is I need 10 elements, no? Suppose instead of 10 mm square, if I use 5 mm square elements, then what happens? How many elements I need? 25 is 100, that is I need 20 elements. Means what? If you go on reducing the size of the element, more number of elements are needed to divide the body. Then definitely what happens, I told that if more number of elements are used, then accuracy of the solution will be more. But the problem is that accuracy of the element will be more, but the problem is here calculation time will also increases along with the accuracy. That is why I told, no, in the last class that we have to see the acceptable accuracy level. For pistons I may use more accuracy, but for duster I will use less accuracy, what I told in the last class. Okay, then next step in FEM is to, second step is selecting a proper interpolation or displacement model. So when you are doing a structural analysis, what is the problem? In structural analysis, the main problem is that we have to find the displacement or deflection. For example, suppose you want to do a finite element analysis of a beam. What you are finding in beam? Deflection of the beam, no? Deflection means it is nothing but displacement of the points on the beam. So here, when you want to carry out the structural analysis, the main variable is displacement. The main field variable is displacement. So, but we will not be knowing how the displacement will be varying, whether it is varying linearly, whether the displacement is varying in quadratic in nature, whether the displacement is varying in cubic polynomial type, we don't know. So what we do is we'll assume it. Okay? We'll assume that the displacement is varying either linear, or it may be varying quadratic, or it may be varying like cubic, like that we'll assume. So that is called as selecting a proper displacement model. Model means what? It is a displacement polynomial. Okay, so the displacement variation within the element will not be known, hence we assume a suitable displacement model. Means we assume that the displacement is varying linearly in the element, or we may assume that the displacement is varying quadratically within the element. Like that, we'll be assuming. That step is called as selecting a proper interpolation or displacement model. Okay, interpolation function or displacement function, both are same. Okay, so here the displacement functions are of usually of polynomial type of displacement functions are used, because polynomials are continuous functions, and we need a displacement model which should be always a continuous function. Continuous function means what? Suppose y is equal to f of x is a function, then at every value of x there should be a value for y. Means there should not be a discontinuity between y and x. For every value of x, if you go on selecting different values of x and go on finding y corresponding to that x value, then for each and every value of x, if y is having certain value, then we call that type of functions as continuous functions. Okay, so we have to select proper displacement function. Then next one is in FEM is to derive element stiffness matrix and element load vector. Here you have seen that sigma is equal to E into epsilon we use no to find out the stress, where E is what? Young's modulus, and epsilon is the strain. So stress by strain is Young's modulus. So sigma is equal to E into epsilon we will be using. But what is E? E is the modulus of elasticity or Young's modulus, which will define the strength of that material. For different materials, different Young's modulus values are there, no? For steel, it is 2 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per mm square. Then for aluminum, it is 0.7 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per mm square. For brass, it is 0.8 into 10 raised to, or 1 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per mm square. Like that, means for different materials, different values of E are there. Okay, means what? They define the stress strength of that material. If E value is larger, means what? The material is more stronger and more elastic. For example, steel is more stronger than aluminum, no? That is why steel is having 2 into 10 raised to 5, whereas aluminum is having 0.75 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per meter square. Okay. But whereas in FEM, instead of using E directly, we will be using stiffness matrix. Stiffness matrix means what? The matrix which will define the stiffness of that body or the stiffness of that structure. It is called as a stiffness matrix. So in this step, what we'll be doing, we'll be deriving the element stiffness matrix. Means for each element, suppose you have divided the body in the first step, suppose you have divided the body into 10 number of elements, then for each element we'll be writing down the stiffness matrix Ke. For example, K1 for element 1, K2 for element 2, like that up to K10 for element 10. So we'll write down the element stiffness matrix for each element separately. Similarly, load vector, element load vector Fe, that is F1, F2, F3 up to F10. We'll write down for each element separately in this step. Okay, so this detailed step will come to know while solving the problem. Okay, in the succeeding classes. Okay. Then next step is to assemblage of element stiffness matrices and element load vectors to obtain global all assembled stiffness matrices. Matrices, okay, and assemble load vector. Okay, so here in the previous step, what we did, we write down the element stiffness matrix for each element separately and element load vector for each element separately. So we will be having, suppose we have divided the body into 10 number of elements, we will be having 10 element stiffness matrices for each element separately. That is K1, K2, K3 up to K10, and F1, F2, F3 up to F10. Those K1, K2 are assembled together. To obtain a assembled stiffness matrix. To obtain assembled stiffness matrix means what? Those K1, K2 up to K10 are assembled together to obtain a single matrix, which is called as assembled stiffness matrix, and it is denoted by capital K. So element stiffness matrix were denoted by small k with superscript, that is K1, K2, K3, like that. And capital K is the assembled stiffness matrix, which is obtained by assembling all the K1, K2 up to K10. How to assemble that? That procedure is it is a step-by-step procedure that you will come to know while solving the problem. Okay. Now you remember that all the element stiffness matrices are assembled together to obtain a global stiffness matrix or assembled stiffness matrix, capital K. Then all the element load vectors, small f, f1, f2, f3, up to f10, are assembled together to obtain a global or assembled force matrix or force vector. Why it is called vector? Because this force matrix is having a vector is what? It is a matrix having either a single row or a single column. If a matrix is having only one row or it is having only one column, then that matrix is called as a vector. Okay. So F, capital F will be a vector, that is it is having only one column. Okay. It is a column matrix. Okay. That is why instead of calling it as load matrix, we will be calling it as load vector. Okay. And we obtain assembled load vector, capital F. So once you assemble the element stiffness matrices to obtain capital K and assemble element load vectors to obtain capital F, then we'll write down the equilibrium equation. The equilibrium equation is K into Q is equal to F, where capital K is the assembled stiffness matrix and capital F is the assembled load vector, and Q is called as nodal displacement vector. Nodes means, in the last class, what are nodes? Nodes are the points where two elements are joined together. Okay, where two elements are joined together. For example, suppose FEM was to apply the boundary condition. I told that boundary condition means what? The conditions which are known at the boundary, okay, they are called as boundary condition. That is, in the beams, suppose it is a simply supported beam, how you are doing? The deflection was 0 at both the fixed and supports. That is, at x equal to 0, deflection y equal to 0. At x equal to L, deflection y is equal to 0. That you are taking, no? Those are called as boundary conditions. And in FEM, in order to apply those boundary conditions, there are two methods are available. One is elimination approach, and the one is penalty approach. By using these two approaches only, you have to apply the boundary condition in FEM. How to apply the boundary condition in FEM, that will come to know while solving the problem. Okay. Then next step in FEM is to solve for unknown variables. Okay. Solve for unknown variables. So which variable you want to solve? Means what is the solution you want? For example, in structure analysis, we want to find nodal displacements, no? Deflection at the center of the beam, deflection at 2 meter from the left end, deflection at 2 meter from right end, like that. Different locations you want to find the deflections, no? In the same manner, here also we have to find the deflection or displacement. In commonly, we will be calling it as displacement, because each node will displace in their own directions. So due to that, what happens? We are required to find those nodal displacements. So those are the unknown variables which we want to find. So those will be found in the sixth step. That is the last step. That is unknown displacement Q. Once you find unknown displacement Q, you can easily find stresses and strains. Okay. Q means what? Unknown displacement. That is nothing but your deflection delta L. Okay. So delta L is equal to what? PL by A, you know. Or epsilon is equal to what? Strain epsilon is equal to delta L by L. Okay. So once you find the delta L or Q, nodal displacements Q, you can easily find the strains. From the strain, you can find the stress, because stress sigma is equal to E into epsilon. Hence, from the strain, you can find stress, and then you can find support reactions. So all the solutions can be found like this. So these are the six basic steps involved in finite element analysis of a structure. That is discretization of the given continuum, selecting a proper interpolation or displacement model, deriving element stiffness matrix, then assemblage of element stiffness matrix to obtain global stiffness matrix, then applying the boundary conditions, then solve for unknown variables. These are the 6 basic steps in finite element analysis of a structure. Then we'll move on to the what are the applications of finite element analysis. Then this finite element analysis is used in real life applications. Okay. FEM has been successfully applied to solve several types of problems in engineering applications such as mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, civil engineering, automobile engineering, electrical engineering, and biomedical engineering. In all these engineering fields, finite element analysis is widely used. Okay? But most widely it is used in mechanical, civil, automobile, and aerospace engineering. Okay? So in civil engineering, FEM is used for static analysis and stability of structures. That is like beams, columns, and trusses. Trusses means what? Trusses means these are large members which are used in large workshops. In our workshop building, I think you might have seen at the rooftops, you might have seen the big pipe structures. No, those are called above those pipe structures. These sheets are laid. Those structures are called as trusses. TRUSSES. Or for example, you might have seen this mobile towers or high tension electrical transmission lines. There also those pillars, those columns which are used in mobile tower, how they are did? They are did by welding they are manufactured by welding the angles, no, angle structures at different angles. Those are called as trusses. These trusses are basically structural members which carries load. So in civil engineering, finite element method is used for static analysis, that is structural analysis and stability analysis of beams, columns, trusses, folding plates, frames, then pre-stressed concrete structures, then bridges, etc. Okay. Then in aerospace and aeronautical engineering, finite element analysis is used for static and dynamic response analysis of aircraft structures. Aircraft structures like fuselage and wings structures, and then rocket bodies. Those all the dynamic analysis means force analysis, dynamic force analysis of maybe wind also. When the wind is flowing on the aeroplane, we call it as aerodynamic analysis. For that aerodynamic analysis of aircraft structures and also for rockets and spacecrafts, they will be using finite element method. Then in mechanical and automobile engineering, FEM is used for stress concentration problems. If there is any stress concentration, due to that stress concentration, that component or material may fail. So they, in order to find out what is the stress concentration, at what location the stress concentration is occurring, they will be using FEM. Then for stress analysis of different structures like beams, frames, pressure vessels, like big structures, and even in IC engine parts like connecting rod, piston, cylinder block, for that also, or crankshaft, for structural analysis of those, and even for gears also FEM is used. And FEM is also used for composite materials. Composite materials means what? You know, no, GFRP, carbon fibers reinforced plastics, or glass fiber reinforced plastics, or nylon fiber reinforced plastics, like which are used in bus bodybuilding and in car bodybuilding, in racing car bodybuildings. But for general purpose, the car bodybuilding, the sheet used is steel. But whereas in some racing cars and also in bus bodybuilding, they will be using composite materials, because composite materials are cheaper and also having very good strength to weight ratio. Okay, means they are very light in weight and having very high strength. That is why composite materials are widely used. Okay, and then crash worthiness of vehicles. So in order to do the crash testing, what they will do? They will manufacture one prototype. One prototype means one model of the vehicle, and they will make that vehicle to hit the wall at certain speed, and they will be seeing, analyzing it. Means how much is the deflection occurring at the front end, how much energy is transferred inside the occupants, what is the damage caused, all those things they will be analyzing. That is called as crash testing or crash worthiness analysis. So here crash worthiness, before doing the experimental crash testing, what they do in finite element analysis, by using finite element analysis, they will do computer simulation. They will make the car to crash in the computer itself by making simulations, and they will go on studying, and they will make the improvement in the design if there is any problem. And at the end, after everything is okay in computer, they will go for actual crash testing by using experimental method, so that lot of experimental testing cost can be saved. Because after crash testing, what happens to the car? If you go to YouTube videos, you can see that there are a lot of crash testing videos are available. So you can go for those crash testing videos, you will come to know those are experimental crash tests. Okay. Then, and FEM is also used for finding natural frequency. Okay. So natural frequency, while studying vibrations, you come to know that what is the natural frequency. Natural frequency is the material property for any component. It depends on geometry of the component and material of the component. And if the externally excited frequency matches with the natural frequency, then the resonance occurs and large vibrations are accompanied, due to which the body may fail. So that is why you have to understand what is the natural frequency of any body or component, and the external frequency should never match with the natural frequency. That you have to take care of, okay, being a design engineer. Otherwise, what happens? The resonance will occur during the operation and the body may fail. Okay. So that is why in order to find the natural frequency also, the FEM is used. And stability of linkages. You have studied kinematics of machine. In kinematics of machines and dynamics of machines, you have studied different linkages are there. 4-bar mechanism, 5-bar mechanism, then slider crank mechanism. Those different mechanisms are there. They are called as linkages. So in order to find out the stability of the linkages, means whether the linkage will move properly or not, that can also be analyzed by using FEM. And also in machine tools like lathe, then milling machine, drilling machines are there. For the stability analysis of those machine tools also, finite element method is used. Then FEM is also used for non-linear and fracture mechanics problems. Non-linear problems means what? Whatever components that we are using, in strength of material, we will make the assumption that the material is linear. Means what? The material obeys Hooke's law. Stress and strains are directly proportional to each other. Means they are varying linearly. But actually what happens, some of the materials, for example, like plastic, and if you see composite material, then our amorphous solids, so if you see, they are non-linear in property. They are having non-linear property. The mechanical properties are non-linear in nature. So due to that, what happens? You cannot use your strength of material or theory of elasticity equations and solve those problems. There we have to go for FEM for non-linear analysis. Then fracture mechanics problems means what? Once the crack is initiated in the component, the behavior of the component completely changes. And you cannot use those theory of elasticity or strength of material equations for those. Then you have to go for fracture mechanics analysis. So that is a different subject. Fracture mechanics is a different approach which is used when the crack gets initiated in a component. Once the crack gets initiated in any component, the component behavior totally changes. And those equations, those conventional equations which we have derived in strength of material or in theory of elasticity or in design, those cannot be used. Then that theory is called as fracture mechanics theory. And the problems are called as fracture mechanics problems. Then FEM is also used in heat transfer applications like temperature distribution in a body, or temperature distribution in piston, or temperature distribution inside the room itself at different points. What is the different temperatures in the room, and also in solids and also in liquids, we can find by using finite element method. And also transient heat flow in IC engine. Transient means what? Time dependent, means which changes with time, are called as transient processes. So FEM is also used to analyze the heat flow, transient heat flow, time dependent heat flow. Steady state means what? The heat flow is constant, it does not changes with time, is called as a steady state heat flow. Transient heat flow means the which changes with time. Then heat temperature distribution in rocket nozzles, in turbine blades, turbines, you know, no, Kaplan turbine, Francis turbine. In those turbine blades also, what is the temperature distribution, how the fluid is flowing on the turbine blades, those all can be found. And also in building structures, in large building there will be different temperatures. In order to cool those at room temperature, for example, in hospitals, which use in hospitals, or in centralized AC systems in malls and film theaters,
Hello, excuse me,
there
sir.
you can you will come to know that this AC system has to be centralized. AC system has to be used, and you have to study the temperature distribution in the that structure, in that rooms or halls. We have to use FEM. Then in electrical engineering and electronics engineering, FEM is used in electrical machines and electromagnetics for steady state analysis of synchronous and induction motors, and also in eddy current and core losses in electrical machines. In order to find how much is the eddy current losses and core losses in electrical machines like electrical motors and generators, they will be using
Hello,
FEM.
sir.